Hello, everybody. I hope that all of you are doing well. Welcome back to a new video. My name is Evelyn Porta, and those of you that are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. Those of you that have been already here, welcome back. And thank you so much for everybody who is reaching out with emails and with messages. I'm very grateful for your support and for your beautiful feedback. So there are a few things again that I want to talk about in today's video and kind of connect the dots, and especially a particular thing that is more and more apparent in our society, and a few elements that are pointing in one particular direction. That is one of those wild cards that hasn't been used yet, but I think it's just a question of time before that happens, and that is a fake disclosure or fake alien invasion. But before I get into that, I wanted to catch up a little bit with you, and then also to tell you that I started a Telegram channel. I think I can say it. It's a channel, Telegram channel, which I haven't done before. But I'm thinking about different methods to back up my videos and to have these backup platforms, because we don't know what is coming, right? We don't know what is happening with this censorship. We see more and more channels that are just being eradicated completely. They are being deleted from YouTube because they are going against the official narrative. So I thought, why not to start a Telegram channel? So those of you that are using Telegram, you can find the links to my channel in the description box below, or you can insert in the search box on Telegram my name, Evelyn Barta, just as the name of my channel here, and then you will find me there. And I did a reading on the Georgia Guidestones and what is behind them, and I will be sharing that reading there, which I, by the way, already shared on my Patreon. So yeah, it's a reading on who destroyed the Guidestones, so you will find it there. So please follow me on Telegram or subscribe to my channel on Telegram, or I don't know what is the right word for it. And I will be posting there as often as I can, because I need to make a routine out of that as well, but I will do my best. Also, I wanted to say that I have a backup channel on Odyssey, so that is synced to this YouTube channel. So whatever I post on YouTube, it is appearing there as well. So in case something happens with this channel, you will find all the videos from the past on Odyssey. I will write the link here, like where you're gonna find my videos, or maybe I will post it in the description box below as well, the link, so I will see. All right. So a little bit of catch up about what is happening in our society energetically. We had a full moon last night, and in some parts of the world is today the full moon in Capricorn. So the energies are super powerful. Plus, we are approaching the Lionsgate portal as well. So it's a time of an acceleration. It's a time of quickening, where we are receiving lots of cosmic upgrades. It's an organic way of evolving. And it's also a great time of, as I mentioned before, for emotional healing, trauma healing as well. So there's a lot that is going on, and there's a lot that is being healed right now, and it's happening with me as well personally. And I wanted to share something that I found very interesting, and that is the fact that I was bit by a spider this weekend. So I don't know if you can see it properly, but basically it's there, and it will get bigger and bigger. Spider bites are like that you have like basically the epicenter of the bite, and then it gets bigger and bigger, and it takes sometimes even 2 months for the whole thing to get here, then to disappear. And I know that because I was bit by a spider back in 2020. So just when I left London and I moved out of London, and I changed my environment completely. And I wanted to mention this because spiders have a great symbolism, like a spiritual symbolism and a spiritual significance as well, because they are a very feminine energy, and they are woven their web, and that is a symbolism for creation and co-creation as well. And if we think about the spider web as an energetic web as well, then we can think about our energetic relationship with the rest of the world, and the energy that we put out and the energy that we receive. So giving and receiving energies, basically the harmony and the balance between the masculine and the feminine, which is giving and receiving, masculine being the giving energy and the feminine being the receiving energy. So spiders are symbolizing that and the harmony between these two polarities, these two energies that are coexisting and they are co-creating. And there's no manifestation that is happening without these two energies being in balance. So they have to be in perfect balance in order for something to manifest, in order for the creation to happen. And if we think about this period of time where the feminine, the divine feminine is healing, this Cancer season, then we can think about the co-creation and our abilities to co-create is healing as well. And then we are approaching Leo season, which is a more masculine aspect because it's being ruled by the sun. So Cancer being ruled by Moon, which is a feminine aspect, and then we are approaching a masculine season, Leo being ruled by the sun. So now the masculine is healing as well. And it's interesting because when I left London, it was beginning of August, and I was bit by a spider on my leg. So it was my leg, and it was like a very big bite. And it lasted like 2 months, I think. So it was visible for 2 months. And the leg is symbolizing the ability to move forward in life. And then also our sense of belonging in the world. So it does have to do with the lower chakras. It does have to do with the root chakra. So there was an imbalance in my root chakra that needed to be healed at that time. And that was the symbolism for this spider bite. And now the arm is symbolizing the personal power and what I consider myself to be in the world, and how I'm giving away my personal power and how I'm receiving energy as well. So that does have to do with the solar plexus. And what is interesting about spiders and spider bites is that they are happening only when we don't pay attention. They are happening very rarely, actually. Spiders don't bite very often. They are not like mosquitoes. But when they bite, they probably bite when we are asleep. So I don't know when it exactly happened. Probably when I was sleeping, because I was in the nature as well this weekend. So it was probably happening in my sleep when I didn't pay attention. But what this translates to me is that there are certain things in the subconscious and certain traumas deeply embedded in the subconscious that are needing my attention. Because if I don't pay attention to them, they can bite me. So basically, my subconscious can bite me. So the spider is a great symbolism, it's a great metaphor for my subconscious. So yeah, is very fascinating that this happened at this time of healing. And I don't know if I can say that I'm not paying attention. I don't think I can say that I'm not paying attention to my subconscious, but my subconscious was confirming that yes, there are certain things there that need to be healed. So yeah, go forward, do what you're doing, because there's much more work that needs to be done. So I just wanted to share that with you because nothing is a coincidence. Nothing happens accidentally. No accident is accident, and each and every insect is symbolizing something. So we always have to find the symbolism for these insects that are biting us, and they are being super drawn to us because each and every one is representing something. So the spider wanted to send me a message. It wanted me to pay attention to this. And then obviously energy is energy. So everything is a vibrational frequency. And whatever we are being in contact with in our environment, we are being in contact with those things because they are an energetic match to our vibration. So yeah, interesting. It's a very powerful period of healing. The healing of, as I said, the feminine and the masculine wounds as well. All right, so let's talk about disclosure now. And what is that information that is being disclosed to us is trying to lead us to? Because I remember, again, going back to 2020, and you see, like, it's the second time when I'm referring to that year. And I think it's a year to remember for all of us. So back in 2020, December, I remember that there was a lot of information coming from different sources that was related to disclosure. So we had the Minister of Defense in Israel, I think, that disclosed the existence of a group called the Galactic Federation. So he was saying that the Galactic Federation exists and many countries and the leaders of many countries are being in contact with them. and they are representing a group of extraterrestrials, and he was saying that Trump knows about them as well. And they were news related to different monoliths found in different parts of the world as well. So kind of like an Atlantean disclosure, kind of leading us to this disclosure of Atlantis and the technology that was existing there, basically. And then going forward in 2021, we have heard more and more things in the mainstream media about the existence of UFOs. And all these people that are working for the military speaking up about their encounters with UFOs in the past. So there was this wave of disclosure, this wave of information that was coming through the mainstream media as well. And that in and of itself is raising lots of questions in us, because no one would disclose anything in the mainstream media if they didn't have anything to prepare us for. In the movie industry as well, in these Hollywood movies and also video games, like for decades, it has been implemented slowly, the idea of a different civilization or a different extraterrestrial species, a different species that is coming from a different planet. So we are being faced with this information incrementally, but also it is not being disclosed to us, or at least it hasn't been disclosed to us properly. We can see it in commercials as well, TV commercials, this idea of an extraterrestrial species. And then we had these Hollywood movies like E.T., Independence Day, I remember back then, which has behind it the idea that there's this very dangerous extraterrestrial species that are moving from planet to planet, and they want to harvest the planet. And they are some species that we really need to watch out for. And then we heard like Stephen Hawking as well back then talking about different civilizations, extraterrestrial beings, civilizations that are not benevolent, and their plan is probably to enslave humanity. So we really need to be careful. So this idea about a very dangerous extraterrestrial species has been planted in us incrementally, but it hasn't been disclosed properly. And I remember for years I was asking myself why there's no disclosure about them. What is really behind this UFO consciousness, these UFO files? Why they are not being disclosed? And I was convinced for years, and this is something that the UFO community has been propagating for decades, that the reason why the government is not disclosing the existence of these extraterrestrial species is because these species are actually benevolent, and they would be a great solution to many of our social problems, and the governments don't want us to know about them. So I believe that many of us were convinced about this idea. So only in the recent years I started to, and I can say that in the past 1 year, I started to understand what extraterrestrials are. And I started to look at extraterrestrials, and this is very important for us to understand, and to start to look at them as interdimensionals. So my understanding of extraterrestrials, as I said, was that they are actually benevolent, and many of us believe that. I did have an idea about probably certain species in the universe that are not benevolent, but mainly I thought that they would not exploit the planet. They would come to teach us something. And I have to say that I attached this savior element to them. But only recently I started to connect the dots, that actually interdimensionals are future versions of humanity. And certain interdimensionals are representing an organic future version of us, and others are representing a divergent version of us. And I started to connect the dots, and I started to see the big picture, and I had this aha moment when I was channeling the Pleiadians. So I was receiving channeled information, and I started to receive some downloads as well. And then I did have this knowing, this clear cognizant knowing about them being future versions of me, that actually I am channeling future versions of myself. So future Pleiadian versions of myself. And then I connected the dots that, I do understand now that these species, actually these interdimensionals, are just future versions of me that went through an organic initiation and got where they are through an organic soul evolution, like a Kundalini awakening that is happening from the inside out. So by the evolution of the soul, there are certain changes in the body as well, which humanity will go through. And it became this clearer and clearer for me when I got in contact with the Venusians. So I started to channel them, because like I instantly had this knowing, and again this aha moment, that actually I'm being in contact with future Venusian versions of me, of myself. And I do have a very strong connection with the planet Venus as well, which is a higher version of the Earth. It's a higher aspect of the Earth. It's a fifth dimensional aspect of the Earth. And that is showing up in my birth chart as well, that strong connection with Venus. So by this, I connected the dots and I started to understand what interdimensionals are. And I started to understand that they are organic interdimensionals and they are inorganic interdimensionals. They are divergent interdimensionals that have chosen an inorganic, an artificial path, and that degenerated them. And this is how the grays were made as well. They are a product of that inorganic, that transhuman path. And then the reptilians are a product of a divergent path as well, which has chosen to mix itself, to merge itself with other species in order to survive. And this is the case with other weird interdimensionals as well that are not humanoid looking. But that's a completely other story. But what I'm trying to say here is that it's very important for us to understand what extraterrestrials are, what ETs are, that they are not necessarily from different planets. They are not necessarily external to the Earth. And if they are from different planets, those planets are different aspects of the Earth, different spheres, different dimensional spheres of the Earth, we can say, because all the planets in our solar system are different dimensional spheres that are representing a different era and different epoch of the Earth. So a different civilization of the Earth. So these interdimensionals are not coming from some external faraway world, but they are shifting through dimensions and through time. And when we talk about Pleiadians, Arcturians, Venusians, Sirians, we are actually talking about different initiation blueprints that are specific to certain solar systems or stargates, star systems, certain fixed stars through which the soul has incarnated into this body. So all of us are basically plugging ourselves into a specific blueprint, a specific timeline as well. Therefore, we are plugging ourselves into a specific sphere as well. So that is depending on your vibrational frequency. And this applies to these interdimensionals as well, because they are capable of traveling through space and time and to shift themselves through different dimensions with the help of these fixed stars. So these stargates that are having a specific vibrational frequency and blueprint. So in order to use a specific portal, a stargate, you need to have the right vibrational frequency to it. That is a match to your vibrational frequency. So let's say if my vibrational frequency and my blueprint is more Pleiadian, then I will be probably using a Pleiadian stargate and not a Sirian stargate. So I don't know if that makes sense. This part of the cosmology is still something that I'm learning. And as I said it in my previous video, I'm still learning about stargates as well and how they work. So it's important for us to understand that these interdimensionals are not separate from us. They are our versions, they are us. Because if we look at them as some separate species from a very far world, then that is taking our power away from us when it comes to disclosure. And what has been happening in the past few years is that this information about extraterrestrials and disclosure has been incrementally pushed. And especially since 2020, when all these people from the government, from military started to talk about that, and the mainstream media started to get into that. So there's a push for the public to accept this disclosure information, but it's being done very subtly, very incrementally. So it is kind of being exposed in plain sight, but it's being done in a way that is not too suspicious for the public. So if we think about the reality that we are living in now with the pandemic and with the war between Russia and Ukraine, and then also the different political conflicts that are happening, civil conflicts as well, a disclosure like this, a new wildcard like this, would be a completely different reality that humanity would need to opt into. And that is why they need a very subtle strategy for that. They cannot push it too hard because it's a very sensitive wildcard to be used, because if it's not being used properly, it can be detrimental for them. So it has some very sensitive elements to it that are making the whole narrative fall apart very quickly and the whole reality falling apart. So they have to be very careful with that. And what I have noticed is that they are trying to introduce it incrementally, and there have been so much that has been happening in the past 2 years. And while everything was going on the surface with the virus, with the vaccines and everything back in 2020, in the background this information was running. So almost like a subconscious information, like trying to plant this idea in the subconscious mind of people, in the back of the mind of people. So when the time comes for this wildcard to be used, they have already laid down the foundation for that. So they have already prepared the subconscious mind of people to accept the information. So that is why it's extremely important for us to talk about this right now and to understand what is disclosure and to understand what interdimensionals are, and to create a clear understanding about what is an advanced technology. Because what is being sold to us and what it has been propagated by the UFO communities for decades was that this advanced technology that is hidden and that was used by the Nazis, for example, that is an alien technology. And that is false, because the technology that the Nazis were using and their secret space program was based on human technology. And that technology goes back to the Atlantean times, to the ancient Atlantis. And Edgar Cayce has a lot of information about that ancient technology. And he's talking about UFOs that were moving through walls and were moving under the sea. And then also this crystalline collective technology that was harnessed by the sun, and the monoliths that were also part of this crystalline grid. So that is not an alien technology, that is human technology. So it's very important for us to understand that nothing that is being used now and it seems to be super advanced and super alien is new under the sun. Nothing of that technology is new under the sun. That is a technology that was an old technology, part of this high culture of Atlantis and Lemuria, and that is being used again, but it's not coming from some alien species. So it's important for us to understand that, because there's a savior element that is being connected to this disclosure and bringing forward a new technology, let's just say. And if we keep believing that humankind isn't capable of creating this advanced society, then we will give our power away, because we will think that only some external civilization can help us to achieve that higher culture, that higher level of our society. And this is something that they are counting on. They are counting on you giving your power away when this disclosure happens. So if this happens, this disclosure, and is being used as a wild card, it has the potential to supplant everything that we have right now. And they know that very well. And that's why it's such a big risk from their side as well. And they are counting on the fact that humanity is super unprepared when it comes to space technology and this kind of information, because the whole thing has been privatized for such a long time. And it's interesting that there is a group of people that has a tremendous amount of information about this and UFO files and the moon landing as well. But the majority of humankind, the majority of people is way behind that, is very behind, and they have no idea what to do with an information like that. Because the only time that their brain is interacting with this information is through video games or Hollywood movies. So there's no proper exposure. The information has been purposefully hidden for a long time, so it can be shockingly revealed at some point, and the response can be very shocking as well to it. So they are releasing information, but as I said, they are doing it very, very slowly and very subtly, working with your subconscious mind and working with the consciousness of the masses. And that is why this whole wild card is such a big risk, because it involves people's consciousness. It is a very hard card to play because it plays directly with the human consciousness. And it has this alien ideal that is better than humanity, which is also very risky because it will have contradictory opinions. It would have opinions that would divide the society and opinions that would contradict directly their opinion. So it's a risky one. It's a risky one because it also plays with the human history and the history of our origin, which I already talked about in one of the videos, that it directly wants to change our cosmic history, our origin, the history of our origin. And that is also very risky. But they would like to do that because if they can change our history, then they can control our future as well, because that is putting us also in a very disempowered position, not knowing where we are coming from, but thinking that we are some products of some advanced alien species. So we are at critical times at this time, and it has been prophesied by many mystics, mystery schools. It has been prophesied by the Hopis. So there are many prophecies that are specifically talking about these times. Rudolf Steiner is talking about these times, that there will be a time when the Christ consciousness is coming back to the planet. And Rudolf Steiner is saying that it will not come back as the man being reincarnated, but it will come back as a consciousness. The Christ consciousness is coming back in full force. And what is happening right now is that there are two different pathways that are forming, two distinct consciousnesses that are being formed, and they will have a different reality. Both of them will have different realities. There's a splitting of timelines, the organic path, the inorganic path. The organic path being a direct path, the new Jupiter, the 5D Earth, where we gradually aligning ourselves with God and we create from there, where the artificial one wants to eliminate God and wants to play God instead and wants to create with the absence of God. And that is why it's artificial. And this push, especially in the past 2 years, for this separation consciousness and wanting to separate us, is because they know very well that we can shift the collective consciousness much quicker when we are in groups, when we are collaborating with each other, when we are connecting to ourselves and each other. And this is where we are stepping into our sovereignty. So they know that very well. And what we will experience and we will see more and more in the society is this migration, this idea of migrating from certain parts of the planet to other parts of the planet where there's more sovereignty, where there's less totalitarianism. And it is already happening. It has already started with this pandemic. So the timeline split has started already. And this is what the mystery schools are talking about as well. They are talking about these specific times. There's a big push for the interruption of the soul evolution right now with the liquids and with the nanotechnology, with this transhumanist attempt. Also, there's a big push for colonizing different planets, like Mars, for example. So these are very critical times where things can shift super quickly as well. There's a quickening. And they can shift in a direction that we have never seen before. Humanity has never seen before that. I mean, not in this era, not in this epoch. We have not seen something like that. So the colonizing of different planets or the disclosure of these advanced civilizations or advanced technology is something that is very hard to grasp for the average modern person, for the modern society. And things can shift very quickly in a very unusual direction. So that is why these times are super critical. So Theosophy was pointing exactly to these times. And the mystery schools were pointing to these times, these critical times of quickening. So these mystery schools left behind a blueprint of how we can evolve and where things are going. They showed us, here is what is coming and this is what you can do. So our job is to go back to those teachings of the mystery schools and to find out what is the path that we want to follow. Because what will happen, I believe, is that we are not done with these narratives of the viruses. This is not the last thing that it will happen. I believe that as we are approaching the end of the year, there will be more variants, or maybe the virus will come back, and we will be facing more censorship and the losing of our freedom and more sovereignty and losing free speech completely. And it's already happening. It's already happening on social media platforms, on YouTube as well. So it is here. So as I said, our job is to find out how to navigate through these times. And for that, the teachings of these mystery schools can offer us a great foundation. The foundation is being laid off. And it's up to us how we are integrating those teachings in our consciousness, how we are integrating that knowledge into our consciousness, because that knowledge that we are receiving from there can trigger also a remembrance process, a remembrance of where we are coming from. So what we will start seeing is a branching off of the society forming different branches. And the truth is that we have not seen yet that big rise of humankind. We haven't seen humanity rising yet. There is still something to be witnessed. So in a way, we are in the middle of this process. Many things still need to move. Yet we are just at the beginning of this split of timelines. And there are many wildcards that haven't been used yet. And there are many individuals as well that haven't stepped forward yet. Individuals that want the betterment of the society, and probably they will be participating in political movements. So we have not seen those participations yet, and that is something that will be followed. That is something that we still need to witness. So yeah, very interesting, very exciting times that we are living now, and very, very critical times as well. And I have to say that the best is yet to come. It is not easy. It is very challenging to be alive at this time. But we have to feel, and I personally feel grateful for being alive right now. We are at crossroads and the show has just started. The show hasn't reached yet its critical point, its tipping point. Even though constantly we feel like there's like a boiling point. But I'm telling you that the biggest show is yet to come. Alright guys, I think this is today's video. And I will be talking more about this in the future, in future videos, but I cannot talk about everything that I want in one go because there's a lot that is happening. And I will be doing a video about the Lionsgate portal probably a little bit later. But yeah, that will be a powerful one as well, a very powerful portal. Alright, so I hope that this message has resonated. I hope it was helpful. If it did, you can subscribe to this channel, and then also you can check out my Patreon. If you want to support my work, you can do it there, but check out what I'm posting there. I'm posting loads of readings basically. And now I have Telegram as well, so please join my Telegram, because I will be posting readings there as well and updates as well, like global updates. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you for everyone's support, everyone's emails, messages. I'm so grateful for you, honestly. So take care everybody, and I cannot wait to see you next time.